Hi, in this video, I'm going to go over how to get started as a VA if you have no idea and it feels overwhelming to even get started and know where to start. So again, my name is Kelly Sue, and if you watch my other video, you'll know that I have zero formal training in this, and I've been doing it successfully, consistently for 2.5 years. I have four clients who I love and adore, a schedule that is all mine. I can work however I want to, and make good money doing it. And I had no formal training in this. I just had jobs in the wheelhouse, giving in the wheelhouse of being virtual assistant, of doing VA type tasks that I then streamlined into being my own boss as a business owner and finding my own clients and doing it under my terms, not as an employee. So I want to say that I have my list of things I want to get through here today. So the first thing you want to do is think of the jobs you've had and the skill sets you have and write them all down. Write them all down, brainstorm them, whatever. Have a list of your skill sets that would fit under VA. Now, VA can be very wide. There's a lot of skill sets that can fall under being a virtual assistant. It just means basically anything you can do virtually that can help a business owner. So that could be very niche and very career specific. Like there's real estate VAs, there's social media VAs, there's videographer VA, there's different kinds. There's VAs who only work with like wellness practitioners, So, but underneath all of that is a variety of skill sets. And for example, like some of them are client facing. Some people love to do customer service and inbox management and like interfacing, kind of being that filter between the clients and the business owner. Whereas other people, like myself, don't like to be that person. I like to do more like hidden behind the scenes stuff. I like to be a behind the scenes fairy. I don't really love interacting with clients that much. And I like to leave the client interactions to the business owner. But that's just me. But I do other things, right? So graphic design or marketing or brand aesthetic or, research, different types of things that I like doing. Organization, drive organization, this, that, and the other thing. So get a list of your skills that you have. And then once you have them, you're going to want to look at them and be like, do I want to keep doing this and almost like market myself as someone who does this? Basically, pick the things you want to keep doing and like doing, and leave the things that you hate doing. Because we've all had jobs where we have done a lot of things, and some of them we enjoy and some of them we hate. So leave the things you don't want to do. Even if you're capable of doing a thing, it doesn't mean you have to include it in your repertoire as a VA, right? I'm capable of booking flights for people, but I absolutely hate doing that. So I don't advertise that I do travel plans because I don't want to be booking flights for people. It's too stressful for me. But someone else might find that really exciting. So maybe you become a travel VA. You can just do that probably. Um, so divide those things, know what you want to offer, have that little list. And it can be very niche, but it could also be general. That leads me into my next topic is I think the best, unless you have very specific background in a niche, in a field, you have like maybe medical knowledge or like maybe legal background, I would start as a general VA, and that is what I did. And even though now I would say I'm still under that category, I've niched a little bit more into the graphic design, brand aesthetic, marketing area. Those are like my strong suits and where I have the most experience. And if someone needs me to do some random research on like Google Voice phones versus iPlum phones versus Grasshopper, whatever, like I've also done that. So it's like fine. But you know, you just decide how you want to market yourself. And especially like maybe you do have brand and graphic design background. So maybe that's your niche and you can stick with that, stick with your strong suit. And then if you want to, maybe later you take a course in web design and you learn how to make websites for people. That's great too. Then you can like expand into that. So kind of decide what you want to do, what you like to do, and make that very clear. Um, so then the next thing I want to talk about is what you really need to start. This is where I think a lot of people can get stalled because they think they need a lot of things to start being a VA. You literally need a computer, an internet, and to know how to do a skill and a client. That's it. You do not need an LLC, a business name, a website, an Instagram, a LinkedIn, a portfolio. You literally don't need any of those. You need to have experience, and I would say confidence in what you're offering. You need to have skill sets to land a client, and you need to be able to do the work on a computer with internet. So when I started being a VA, I did have a website. I did create a website. Do I think one is required? No, I think people will hire you through a referral if they know you, if they can see your work. Um, I don't even think the people who did hire me necessarily even looked at much at my website. And if they did, it was a very poorly made WordPress website. So they still hired me. So I don't think you need that. I think what you need is a skill set and someone who needs that skill set. And if you connect and you're like, hey, yeah, I've been doing brands and graphic design at such and such a job for the last 3 years. So, yes, I'm experienced in this. I don't have a website. I'm looking to take on a client, and then start with like a trial time. And that's how you do it. You just have to be resourceful. The people who want, you do not need an LLC to do all of this. You also don't need like a business banking account, although if you continue to do this, I would say get one. But you don't need anything officially. You don't need anything officially. You don't need anything officially except a laptop and the internet. Um, so don't get stalled on all of that stuff. If you want it, like I did want to create a website. I didn't have a portfolio. My portfolio was that I worked for the Art Center for the last 3 years as the patron services manager, and I was a teacher before that. That was my portfolio. I didn't have anything to show for the work I did. I was not a graphic designer at that time. My work was not like visual. It was up like kind of hidden as it sometimes can still be today. So people just had to trust my experience. That was like kind of on my resume, which I kind of put on the website. But so you have to just have confidence in your skill sets and where you came from and that you can do a thing. And even if that thing is, being on the phone and doing customer service stuff all day, if you like that and that's your strong suit, girl, sell that thing. Sell it. Um, Yeah, so don't get stalled on all of that. Really, what you need is your first client. And that it goes into the next topic is how to get your first client. Again, you don't need to do anything fancy. You don't need to do anything fancy. I did not do anything fancy to get my first client or my second or third or fourth. They're all people who were in my field and then a referral. So I think your best bet at landing your first client, and hear me out, is someone you know, and is someone you probably know in a work setting or in a peripheral setting. You don't necessarily want someone too close to you, like in your family. Like I would never take on a client who was like a relative, but what you do want to do is reach out to your former colleagues, reach out to maybe any neighbors, post in your neighborhood group, see if there's anyone in there who are entrepreneurs. There are everywhere nowadays, there are entrepreneurs. Even if some might be big and in it for a long time, and some might have just like started their business a year ago, but everyone is an entrepreneur. So post in the Facebook groups, um, share your skill sets, make something in Canva. It can be a template if you're not into graphic design. Make something, make a little flyer. You can look it up how to do it. Put your face on there. This is another thing I say also to my pet sitting mentees is when you're advertising yourself in Facebook groups, you make a little flyer for yourself. You do have to do a little self promo, and I'm telling you, you can't just write text. People aren't going to read that. Like if you just like drop a post in a Facebook group and you're like, hey, I'm a VA. I can help you with client customer service and graphic design. Thanks. Have a great day. Like, literally, no one's reading that. You have to put a face. People respond the most to human faces. And I don't care if you don't like how your face is in pictures or whatever. Find the best picture of yourself. People want to know who they're working with. And I swear, that's how I orient when I'm going to hire someone. If I were to hire someone, it would not be someone who just put out a very boring, you know, picture with a clipboard and a pen or a laptop and a coffee and said, hey, I'm a VA. It's like, no, who are you? Show me your face. I want to know. So, especially if you don't have a website, you need to put your face out there. And so, put your face on every little graphic, say your experience, the like bullet point your main skill sets, give your email or how to contact you. And that's it. And keep it simple, keep it short, and post in the Facebook groups. Follow the rules. Don't post on the wrong day, or you might get, they might not post you. So make sure you read all the rules and make sure you're posting on the days when businesses can post and do self promo and all of that good stuff. But you want to yeah, reach out to the people in your network who already know you. Because here's the thing, if they already know you in a work environment, and this is what happened with my first VA client, we worked together for 3 years. Now she was a contractor. Well, our work didn't really cross over. I was the front desk girl. She was the accountant for the whole place. We didn't like cross over or work together, but like I knew she was a badass at what she did, and she knew I was the same at the front desk managing all of the wildness that happens up there at a nonprofit art center. So when I came to her, whatever that was, 3 years later, whatever, and I was like, hey, Melissa. Oops. Yeah. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. It's first name, whatever. Um, you know, do you need help? I know you're a solopreneur. You run your own business. I've been doing this stuff for the past few years. I'm looking to get out on my own. I'd be happy to support you in your business. And she was like, oh my gosh, yes. Thank you for reaching out. And she trusted me because she already knew me. She hadn't hired anyone yet because it's hard for a solopreneur, especially someone who likes to do all of the things themselves and who is actually very capable of a lot of things. It's hard for them to delegate to someone who they don't know, maybe haven't seen their work, don't know their track record. It's just hard. So the fact that we had a rapport already, a working rapport, she knew I was great, reliable, consistent, etc. She was like, hiring me was like a no-brainer at that point. And so you want to kind of click in with people, maybe from 5 years ago, even where you worked. Maybe they're out doing their own thing now, or maybe they always were, and you were a colleague. Click into those people, click into your neighborhoods, find your entrepreneurs. Um, and I think that is your best bet. It is not cold reach out. I think I've done that. I have done that. I have done cold reach out to people whose businesses I liked. Um, and never did it work. And many times I got no response. So, and I get it, whatever. I actually don't get it. If someone reached out to me, I don't understand the no response at all. But, and these are like, not to throw any shade, but these are women who own like holistic businesses and seem to be very intentional and all the things. And I'm sure they are, but I was just like, not no response? Like, what is going on? Anyway. Um, People you know is your best bet, in my opinion and in my experience. Let's see. Yep, how to get your first client. Portfolio building without experience. So, yeah, I think unless your skill set is graphic design, is something visual, you're not going to really have much of a portfolio aside from the work experience you have. At least that was my case, right? Like I was a teacher. I worked as it's called patron services manager. I worked as like a front desk office manager. So all of those skill sets. So really my resume was my portfolio until I had clients. And then even then, like once I had my first VA client, my second client, she did not ask me for a portfolio. I she can look at my website and I have listed there some of the businesses who I work for who, allowed me to post their testimonials and stuff. But I don't have like a portfolio on my website for a reason because I don't think I need one. Um, I think my client testimonials speak for themselves, and so does just like my resume, my experience. So I think unless you're in the visual arts, like unless you're doing really graphic design, web design, things like that, where it would make sense to have a visual portfolio of stuff you've done, even though graphic design and web refinement is in my wheelhouse and is a lot of what I've done. I don't like save that stuff. If they want to go and look at the person's website or Instagram, I can tell you what I made and what I did not make because yeah, I have no interest in creating that type of portfolio, even though there are some skill sets that I could probably. Um, so yeah, you don't need a portfolio. It's really like your experience and if you don't have any client testimonials, it's really your confidence. You really have to toca la guitarra, and I talked about this in another video. The toca la guitarra is a Spanish phrase for play the guitar. And when I was a missionary Catholic nun, which if you've watched my other videos, I'm sure I've referred to it, in my 20s, the missionary nuns, you were just thrown into a lot of situations as a missionary that you probably never were trained in, never had to do before. And that was kind of a part of the missionary adventure, they would call it, you know, just trusting God's grace and go do this thing. And the sisters would always say, you just have to like toca la guitarra until you like, until it lands, essentially, until you are actually doing the thing. So you kind of have to play, pretend, go through the motions, be confident about it until you actually are. And I think that that can be a really true thing. I think that can apply to teaching. I also do not have any teaching credentials. And I've taught a lot in my life. I taught a ton as a nun, and then I taught for 4 years in a Catholic school, and I have zero education history. I just know kids and I'm organized, and that's kind of it. And I'm not like downplaying people who are actual teachers. Granted, I didn't teach any real subjects. I taught Spanish and religion, which, as you know, probably you can like kind of fly under the radar and just be like the fun teacher. And that is what I was. But those kids actually learned a lot in the time that they were with me. Um, so yeah, you don't need the credentials or the portfolio you think you need. You just have to be confident about your skill sets, and you have to connect with the person um, who you want to connect with. And that'll be a topic for another video is onboarding and deciding on your first client because here's like a pro tip, don't say yes to everybody. And that goes for every type of business. I would apply that also to pet sitting. I have talked about that a lot. I say no more than I say yes. Um, but be very choosy who you decide to work with. Make sure that you guys are aligned, that there's some resonance, that we'll get to this in another video, but that your boundaries as a VA and what you've set, working parameters you've set, they're clear about, they're comfortable with. They also kind of align with you in the way you run your business and see work and all of that because you want to try to find someone who will be a long-term good fit. You don't just want to say yes to someone who's like, "Oh, hey, can you brand this PDF for me?" And it's like a one-time project and it's like not meaningful. You want to spend the time to really get to know them. And we'll go over this, but you want to have a call with them, get to know them, make sure you feel that their energy is aligned with yours essentially, or you feel good about moving forward with them. And you want to go through a trial period. You don't just want to sign like a 1 year contract. I always do kind of like a 2 month trial period where they give me some work. I can show them what I can do. And after the 2 months, it's like, okay, how's this feeling? Do we want to continue to move forward? Is this not a fit? I feel like that's a good kind of way to ease into it for them because they're not committing to anything big. They're committing to 2 months of having some help. And maybe it'll be helpful and maybe it won't, but 2 months isn't that long. And for me, it's the same thing. I'm committing to 2 months of working with a new person and seeing how they communicate, seeing what types of work they give me. seeing if there's scope creep or, all of that, seeing if they pay me on time. So it's like a safe trial period. 1 month, I don't think is necessarily long enough to really get to. 2 months might not be either, but 1 month is definitely too short. So I would say I like the 2 month mark. 8 weeks is a good amount of time to kind of get a feel for what it's going to be like. And in my experience, it's been accurate. So, um, yeah. So trying to think if there's anything more coming to mind. Oh, why your first client matters more than your branding. That's another thing is you don't need like a logo, you know, or brand colors. Although that's fun to do. It's probably one of my favorite parts. But your first client matters. Here's the thing with your first client. You want to slightly exceed their expectations. So you don't want to over deliver to the point of burnout or exceeding your own like limits, but you want to over deliver in a way that's just right so that not only did their work get done, but you thought of things or you tweaked things, that they might not have thought of, or you over delivered and gave them another whatever, maybe I'm trying to think like a different type. They asked you to make a graphic. Like I've done this before. Like they asked me to make a graphic, and instead of making one, I make like two options. I'm like, well, there's this type of option, and you can do this type of option, just to kind of like, let them see what you can do, and also give them some options. So like that's an example of that. But you want to over deliver a little bit so that they are more than happy with their investment. And ultimately can give you a great testimonial that you can share. Even if you don't have a website, you can still share it on your little graphic. I mean, we do that with pet sitting all the time. When I share for like cat sitting, we use our client testimonials on our little graphic a lot because they just sing our praises so well. And I haven't done that for VA work because I literally haven't had to find new clients, knock on wood, since the beginning. So I have rarely had to be posting for new clients because this has like worked out so well for me. But if I did, I mean, they're all over my website, my client testimonials, and I appreciate them. I do share them on Instagram when they come through. So yeah, you want to really focus in on that first client, make them a priority, but don't exceed your boundaries. So do the best you can do within your time frame that you promised and your own working hours and all of that. Keep your nervous system regulated as you're doing it and, you know, give a little wow factor because the wow factor should actually just be kind of your normal. And I don't, again, mean over deliver, but like make it your normal to kind of like really tidy things up with a pretty bow. I mean, that's kind of what I try to do, I would say, in a lot of ways as a VA, is I try to keep things super organized, tidy, clean, communicate clearly, on time, all those things. And honestly, for so many of these business owners, I would say 3 out of the 4 of my business owners who I work for are self-proclaimed ADHDers, and I'm not. I'm a highly sensitive person and quite the opposite of an ADHDer. But when you have that dynamic, I actually work. It works really well because we kind of can balance each other, and we being the kind of reliable, steady, consistent, grounded delivering can be very like steadying for them. And so even just that can be tidy. The way you tie it up with a bow is that you're just freaking reliable and consistent and deliver excellent work every time and on time. That's it. It's not that hard to be, excellent. I mean, maybe it is hard. Maybe it comes easier to some than others, but yeah, your first client is really the priority. None of the other stuff matters. The branding, the website, the LLC. Poof. I didn't have an LLC until I was doing all of my gigs for like 4 or 5 years. I got my LLC in 2024 and I started doing gig work, pet sitting, VA, coaching in like 2019. So you can just receive the money and you report it as a contractor on your taxes, and that's that. I didn't even have a business account until 2024. So yeah. I would suggest getting a business account though. Looking back, it's probably the better thing, but nothing happened, you know. It's more of like a financial secure safety thing to have your business money in a separate account, but that's for another day. But anyway, yeah. Those are my beginner tips on how to start as a VA if you don't know where to start, just like to get your brain going, right? What are your skill sets that you want? What are the things you really like to do? Who are the people in your field who own businesses who you actually like hanging out with or like talking to and could see yourself working for, you know? Um, yeah. So I will stop there for this video.